Hello and welcome to the Marco Island Center for the Arts and our Advancing Art series. Our Advancing Art series was designed to give young artists, high school age, emerging artists, the opportunity to hear about other artists' journey. And last year we brought in some artists who had been working for many, many years in the field. And this year we're very excited to be interviewing some artists who are more at the beginning of their career. And I think what they can share with young artists will be both interesting and helpful. I'm Hyla Crane, and I'm the executive director here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. And our very special guest today is Ashley Nevar, also known as Ash from Nash, and you'll find out why. Hi, Ashley, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Hyla?
I am fine. Now, Ashley was a teaching artist for us, but we're going to find out a little bit more about her and her journey as she works as a professional artist. Now, Ashley, tell us a little bit about who you are and the kind of art you do.
Sure. So I am the creator, owner, and designer of Ash from Nash. I design and handcraft jewelry mainly, including necklaces and earrings and all kinds of different pieces of accessory.
And why did you start doing what you do? Like, what was the impetus to start doing this?
Yeah, so what got me started was I had just moved, I grown up in Florida, and I had just moved to a new city in a new town. I had just gotten married and moved to Nashville, well, really like a suburb of Nashville. And up until that point, I had always been around a familiar environment, people that I had known all of my life, even though South Florida is a very fast-paced and people move a lot and it's very transient. For me, it was my home and it was normal. And so when I left and moved somewhere else, all of a sudden I'm married, I have a new identity, I have a separation from my family and my friends, and I had a hard time regaining a career that would be a long-lasting career, because it's hard to break into a new market when you switch up where you're living and where you're working. So in that time, I fell into kind of a bit of a depression. I would definitely identify it as a low point where I was not sure. I didn't have a true grasp of everything was different, and I was lonely, and I was grasping at connection to myself, connection to the community that I was in. And so in that time frame, I had a desire to just keep my mind busy and keep my hands busy. So I'd always been good at crafting and DIYing. I started with macrame, and then I went into art, and then I like paintings, and then I fell into jewelry design, and it just clicked. And so it became like a medium that I was actually very good at, and I was able to have my friends over, and I said, let's have a jewelry party, let's make our own jewelry. And they were like, this is really hard, can you just do it for us? And in that moment, I realized, oh, this is a gift. I've stumbled upon a gift. And so then in that, I started an Instagram, came up with the business name that my husband had came up with years before when we were dating, which was Ash from Nash. And I fell into a beautiful community of women-owned entrepreneurs that really helped get me the confidence and the community that I needed to grow a flourishing business.
Wow. Now, you are a jewelry artist, and that's a broad category, because there are people who work in precious metals, there are people who work with stones of all sorts. Can you talk a little bit about the mediums that you work in? Because I'm going to point out, I think you're wearing some of your own creations today, aren't you?
Yes, I'm wearing my earrings and a necklace that I created. One of the mediums that I work a lot with that is actually it's increasing in popularity is called polymer clay. And polymer clay has been around for a very long time. It started out as a craft clay and has just now started to increase popularity into being incorporated into jewelry because of its lightweight material. So polymer clay is actually not clay at all. It's clay with plasticizer, It's not like the clay that you make pottery with. It's actually at a molecular level, it's considered plastic. But it's very moldable, and then you bake it in the oven at very specific temperature, and then it creates the hardness and it holds its form that you create it to. And it's, like I said, very lightweight, so you can design large pieces that are not, they don't pull on your ears, they're not heavy, they don't weigh you down. So it's really a great material to be able to like design anything you want with. Metal is, I also work with metal. This is a pearl. I work with pearls and metals and things like that, but those things require a lot more manipulation and a lot more tools for manipulation versus polymer clay you can work with your hands.
Ah, okay. So you said you've always been into crafting and DIY. I mean, did you have any specific art training, or are you really self-taught?
I am very much, I would say I'm self-taught. I never took school or classes. I always, of course, in high school, my favorite class was art. My favorite teacher was my art teacher. But there was no formal training that I took in terms of college or design or art school. My aunt, however, was someone that played a very significant role in where I'm at today, because she was a fashion designer. It was a very small brand, a very small label. It's not someone that you would, she had her own boutique. She made her own clothes. And she had a store in Stuart, Florida, in the little downtown area, where her bottom level was her store. And then she had an apartment on the top of it. And I would spend summers with her, and she would teach me how to sew. And she actually worked with polymer clay because she designed buttons for her pieces. She didn't want to just have standard buttons. She really truly wanted to incorporate art into her designs. So she would make polymer clay into very intricate buttons or additions onto her fashion, or like her purses had intricate polymer clay additions to it. And so that was how I learned about the material. And she's someone that really inspired me.
That's incredible. Now, what role do you think artists play in our society today?
That one's a good one. I actually really loved that question. I think that the role that artists play is a very significant one. I think a lot of times that people have downplayed the role of art and creativity. And, you hear the term starving artist, and that in our society nowadays, it's very looked, the impression of you go to college, you get a degree, lawyer, doctor, those things are very esteemed, and they are. They are very important and esteemed, but I would say the artist is just as significant as the doctor. I think that how doctors take care of you in a very physical way, and that's very necessary. I think that artists speak to the soul and the spirit of a person. I think that our life and society really is built on the backbone of dreamers and artists. The cathedrals, the museums, the things that show us what beauty is, the way they introduce us to the way that we feel and we're supposed to feel about pain and sorrow and excitement and love. So things like poetry, art, music, design, all of these are very integral to the growth and development of a person.
Wow. I could not agree with you more. Those are sort of basic tenets of what we are always espousing here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. Now, you used an interesting term, starving artist, and you are relatively young in your career, and for all that you did an amazing thing in starting Ash from Nash, have there been other jobs, other side hustles, other things that you're working at while you're also working as an artist?
Yes, absolutely. I think that obviously the goal in a lot of ways for a lot of people is to be, their art is their primary source of income, which I think in the beginning that was my goal. But along the way, not to make it like it's a deep concept, but the world that we live in isn't really designed for you to go off on your own and be an entrepreneur. That's really become becoming more and more and increasingly something that there's a lot of resources for, versus like back in the day, it wasn't as available. It wasn't as, I would say, trending as a concept. So there's a lot of resources now, but essentially you're on your own and you are learning. When you went to school, you learned how to be an employee. You didn't always, unless you went into a business leadership role, or you were part of a certain club or society, you didn't really learn leadership skills. You learned to go to school, to get a job, to be an employee, and how to do it very well. So to be on your own for the first time, going from being in marketing and sales and working for large corporations to there's no one I can go to. It's me. I'm the boss, and that sounds exciting, but it's extremely scary. So there's ebbs and flows, and there's failures that you make, and that's all part of the journey. Because you're breaking your own mold. You're breaking your own. It's easy to go out and get a job. It's extremely difficult to form your own means of bringing in your own income with building a business on your own back.
Absolutely. I mean, would you say that that's one of the hardest parts of being a working artist?
Yeah, I would say wearing a lot of hats and understanding that money is what makes the world go round. So to be able to have a business, it takes a lot of money to grow a business to where you want it to be. So in that process, to answer your question, yes, I have definitely had, when I first started my business, I was working full time, and then I was able to grow it to where I could work strictly just Ash from Nash. And that was great, and it was thriving. But then I relocated from Nashville to Naples, and then I had to build up all over again my business from the ground up in a new market. So in that process, I was doing all kinds of jobs. I was nannying, I was pet sitting. I have recently also gone back to insurance sales. And so I think that is not something to note, is that that's not a failure. And sometimes it feels like that. As to be honest, as a business owner, that where I did see my success, where I had my own employees, I had my own studio, I was very well known in Nashville, and now I come here and I had to almost in my mind go backwards a little bit to go to work to support what I want to do. But I've learned that that's not really a failure. It's keeping your business, it's gaining your goals, but also understanding your means. So sometimes you have to support your dreams, but to support your dreams, you have to find other resources to do that.
You talked about marketing, and that's part of your background. What are the things that you think are really important when you're trying to market yourself as an artist?
The things that are important to market yourself as an artist is, understanding your own brand and what you're trying to portray, defining what you want to say with what experience do you want people to have when they step foot on your website or they come into your store. And then also, for me, it was painting the experience. So I always wanted it to be a high level, high end product. And a lot of the times I didn't have a high end budget. So I had to do I was very scrappy. So I had to be very creative and work with other artists and do trade work for, if I needed a new logo. I designed my first logo, but I realized to get into certain stores and to get into a certain level of clientele, I needed a better looking brand. I needed to look like, if my goal is Dior and Prada and New York Fashion Week, then I need to put forward that message. And even though my art had reached, like my earrings and my jewelry, I reached the right skill level with them that was able to get into stores. If my message wasn't clear and my branding wasn't clear, I wasn't going to get into those stores no matter how good my jewelry was. And so portraying understanding your clientele and then speaking to that audience is really important.
Wow. Now, my next question is just one. What was one of the most memorable responses you've had to your work, to your artwork?
Oh, that one is all the time. I think one of the most memorable responses was a young girl that her mom is someone that I look highly up to. She is a major catalyst to my career. She owns a co-working space in Nashville. She also owns a very prestigious photography business, and she's a great speaker and a just genuine human. Her daughter, I got to interact with in our meetings and our, exchanges, and she'd be at the co-working space a lot. And so we grew kind of close. I would be around her daughter. And one day, Kathy, her mom, came in and said, "You'll never guess what Stella said to me last night." And I said, What was that?" And she goes, "I want to grow up. Whenever I grow up, I want to have a business and I want to be just like Ashley from Ash from Nash." And to me, I've had many compliments from my jewelry. I've had people say, "Wow, it's so cool to see you grow. Your jewelry is so beautiful." And I get compliments all the time, but that one's the one that I think stuck with me the most, that someone would look at me and say, "I want to be like that."
That is lovely. Now, what would you say was the best piece of advice you were given as you started on your artistic journey? And then what advice would you give somebody who wanted to start in the business?
Absolutely. Oh man, there's so many. I would say there was two pieces. Can I say two pieces of advice that I've given?
Yeah.
One of the ones is it's extremely important to be humble as a business owner and understand your strengths along with your weaknesses. Your weaknesses are not a failure. They are a guiding tool to show you how you need to get people on board that know more than you in that area. So, like, for example, I am an artist, but I'm terrible at accounting. So where your weaknesses are, you need to hire to match your weakness would be one of them. And the other is never be afraid of your competition, and never be afraid that someone's going to steal your ideas, because even if they do, even if they have the secret recipe to exactly what you do, the exact way you do it, they will still never be you. And they will always be a little bit behind. People that copy, it's a form of flattery, but people that copy directly, and I would say use the word stealing directly, are very limited in their own creativity and their own resources. So those people are not threatening, because they will never take your business to the degree that you can, because they're always trying to imitate you.
It's really, really, really good advice. Very thoughtful. I have to think about that myself. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to finish up with one question. So, you started the business in Nashville. You've now relocated. As I said, I'm sitting here with your catalog, and I strongly encourage everybody who has been listening to us to Google Ash from Nash and check out her website, which is beautiful. So much of her jewelry is just gorgeous. It's the holiday season. You may want to do a little shopping. What is the end goal? What would your ultimate goal be?
I think the big goal for me is that it's a two-part goal. One is that my brand is very renowned and it stands alone on its own without supporting resources like being in certain stores. Like I want, like how Dior, Coco Chanel, all of these are standalone names. I think that's the goal, but the reason for the goal is not necessarily so that I can be really well known. It's because I want my brand's reach and my brand's impact to have to be inspiring for other people to see that they can do it and they can reach those goals, but also to have the resources and the funds to contribute to areas that my heart is drawn to. So places like trafficking, places like just needs in areas where I feel that I want to give. I think I want my reach to be large as a resource.
That is wonderful, of course. You know, the arts are a great place where we can address social issues. It's a place where, hopefully in a safe environment, people can come and think and contemplate. But it is wonderful listening to young people who understand the value of philanthropy and how there are many things in the world that are not as they should be, and that we all have a responsibility to work together to make the world a better place and to set things right. Well, Ashley, I could talk to you for absolutely hours, but I think we're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank you for coming and being an instructor here, both in our summer programs and our recent fall program at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. I hope that you will be coming and perhaps teaching again. Perhaps some adult classes would be wonderful. And as I said, I cannot encourage everybody out there enough to go check out Ash from Nash. Do a little shopping. You'll be inspired. That's all for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.